Hello student, myself Kuhu Sarkar. Today I am going to start a new series and the name of the series Let's Crack Gate 2023 where I am going to discuss the question of 2022 and I am going to give a deep explanation or a detailed explanation of each and every question. So let's proceed. After that, I'm going to give you some important topic which will be important for 2023 gate. So now let's start. Our first question: he who is unable to live in a society or who has no need because he is sufficient for himself must be either a beast or a god. And the who has given the above statement? So the statement was given by Aristotle. Mm, He who is unable to live in a society or who has no need because he is sufficient for himself must be either a beast or a god. So, this quotation was spoken by Aristotle. So, now see our next question, question number 28. His history is not made only in a statecraft, its lasting results are produced in the ranks of learned men. So, name the play from which the above assert has been taken. So now let's see the options. The options are Mahesh Dattani's 30 Days in September, Vijay Tendulkar's Silence the Court is in Session, and Girish Karnad's Tughlaq and Rabindranath Tagore's Muktadhara. So if you know the plot of all the plays, you will see that Girish Karnad's Tughlaq is a portrait of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So here the quotation history is not made only statecraft, its lasting results are produced in the ranks of learned men is taken from Girish Karnad's Tughlaq. We can also guess by the plot. So Tughlaq written by Girish Karnad. Tughlaq is a 1964 Indian Canada language play written by Girish Karnad. The 30 scenes play is set during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It was first staged in Urdu in 1966. Karnad focusing on the 14th century Turco-Indian ruler is both as a historical play as well as a commentary on the contemporary political of the 1960s. So here we see that Karnad also doing a political text, also writing a political text. He focusing on Tughlaq, but there is also a interpretation of contemporary politics of the 1960s. The Times of India comments in the play the protagonist Tughlaq is portrayed as having great ideas and grand vision, but his reign was an abject failure. So, though Tughlaq is portrayed as having great ideas and grand vision, but his reign was an abject failure, and he started his rule with the great ideas of a unified India, but he's degenerated into anarchy and his kingdom. So here we see that Tughlaq was a great emperor and he has a great vision for a great purpose for India, but he completely failed in his action because of something. And here we see that Tughlaq um, try to show Karna tried to show Tughlaq in a new light, where we can see that Tughlaq was not a bad person. He also had great ideas and grand vision, but his action failed. So now see the plot of the play. As the play opens, the reader is introduced to the Muhammad or to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, a Muslim Sultan Emperor. Tughlaq declares that he is shifting his capital from Delhi to Dolatabad, as no as the Devgiri. Dolatabad is in South Indian and at a long distance from Delhi. So he tried to shift his emperor from Delhi, shift his capital from Delhi to Dolatabad. He has two purposes behind his decision. First, it will help him to rule over southern part of India effectively and increase fraternity and unity among Hindus and Muslims. So he tried to unite Hindu and Muslims in a Hindu majority city. Second, it will help him saving his capital against the attacks of Mongols from the north. So he has two purpose. The first purpose, it will help him to rule over southern part of the India effectively, increase fraternity and unity among Hindus and Muslims. So he had great ideas and great purpose behind it. Second, it will help him saving his capital against the attack of Mongols from the north. A man named Aziz appeared in the court. Aziz has changed his identity from Muslim to a Hindu and definite purpose. Tughlaq is well known for his secularism. Okay, so Tughlaq is well known for his secularism. Despite being Muslim Sultan, Tughlaq always shows great heart towards Hindus and he desires himself seen as an idealist who wants a unity between Hindus and Muslims. In order to win hearts of Hindus, he favors Hindus more in the decisions and policies. Aziz takes the name as Vishnu Prasad, a Hindu Brahmin. So Aziz now disguised himself. Now he has filed a case against the Sultan Tughlaq for acquiring his land unfairly. He is given a handsome amount on the name of land acquisition. Later in the court, he invites public to get settled Daulatabad. He does not force the public but leave on them on their will whether to move or remain there. So he does not force the public but he leave them to their to at their own will, at their own decision. Aziz, with his friend Azam, plans to cheat people and get money on the way of Daulatabad. The scene shifts now as now Tughlaq is playing chess in a private chamber and his stepmother appears. He is quite concerned about eccentric approach in his admiration. It is also revealed that Tughlaq has murdered his father and brother in the past to get to the throne. She scolds him for his negligence towards the uprising led by uh, Ain ul Mulk, an old friend of Tughlaq, has now turned his enemy. He is marching the 30,000 soldiers. On the other hand, Tughlaq has 6,000 soldiers. Um, the battle takes place. His defeat is quite certain. His stepmother asks Ziauddin Barani, a historian of the time, to keep Tughlaq away from company of foolish advisor and councils. So his stepmother is concerned about the emperor and about what is happening with Tughlaq. Now see the next part. Sheikh Sheikh Imamuddin, another character, appears on the stage. He does not like Sultan at all. In fact, he incites the people against Tughlaq. Tughlaq himself is well about the fact that Sheikh does not like him. Tughlaq calls him and asks him to visit Ain ul Mulk with a proposal for peace. And now see Tughlaq doing something like Sheikh is asked to dress as a royal person and is sent on the elephant. Tughlaq has done this with an intention. So he has an intention. He tried to kill his enemy, and therefore we see that he has mistaken for Tughlaq by his enemies for his royal dress and riding on the elephant, and he has been murdered. Now see, Ratan Singh, Amirs and Saids are planning to murder Sultan, and they argue about Dolatabad, and but he has not made up his mind. They plan to murder him during the prayer. Tughlaq orders for their dead bodies, but later their plan is revealed and they are caught and killed. Tughlaq orders for their bodies to be hanged in public, and he takes he takes another ridiculous decision to have currency minted on copper and brass. So what he did, he take another ridiculous decision to have currency minted on copper and brass metal. So it was his second decision. Adding more of his foolishness, he declares that all coins will have equal value, and no matter whether the coins is made gold, silver, copper, or brass. So he what he did, he declares that all coin uh, will have equal value, no matter the coin is made gold or silver, copper, or brass. So he had taken another foolish decision. He is also announced a ban of prayers. Even people now terming him as a foolish sultan. So he is now called as a foolish sultan. Now Tughlaq wants to shift there as soon as possible. On the way, many people die in hunger, disease, and Aziz appears with his friend Azam and tells him that how to deceive others and extract money. Now we see that peoples are dying for hunger and for disease, but Tughlaq is indifferent for all of this situation. Now see the next part. Now the scene has shifted Daulatbad, and it is reported that Najib, a confidant and an advisor of Tughlaq, is murdered. His stepmother comes and scolds him for the economic state of the state is collapsing, and people have minted so much fake currency on copper and brass. So now a new chaos was happening. They have exchanged it for gold and silver coins. So his police decision is to be held accountable for this crisis. But Tughlaq is frustrated by Najib's mother. So many people, whomever he suspects, he are executed. So he killed everyone. Finally, it is revealed that Najib was poisoned by Tughlaq's stepmother, and after knowing that, what he did, he orders her arrest, and she is stoned to death. All such decisions are presented as a severe frustration of the mind. So he was very much frustrated. Now what is happening, that it is announced to the public that when Giyasuddin Abbas arrives, the band of the prayers will lifted. Now Giyasuddin Abbas is arriving, but the people are no way interested as they are dying of hunger. The life of common man is devastated, but Tughlaq is preparing for Giyasuddin Abbas welcome. So he's totally indifferent for public suffering and pain. He is now just preparing for Giyasuddin Abbas arriving. now as his disguise at Ghiyasuddin, and Ghiyasuddin was also killed by Aziz. Aziz managed to deceive Tughlaq with his new identity. Later, Azam is murdered, and somehow his true identity is revealed. So all this chaos was happening. Now we see that at the end of the play, the revelation of this fact that impressed Tughlaq. He appoints him on a powerful position in his court. Having taken his decision, Tughlaq goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, he realizes himself as he has gone mad. So he realized that he has gone mad. The play ends here. So as we see that the play has some political contemporary political interpretation, or we can say some light on contemporary political decisions, and also it portrayed the life of Muhammad bin Tughlaq and how these kinds of things still happening in these contemporary um, times. Now our next play, the play 30 Days in September, written by Mahesh Dattani. So, the plot of the play: 30 Days in September, the story revolves around Maya and Santa. The play reveals the betrayal in blood relationship in a country like India, where even to think of such relationship is beyond imagination. Mala, sexually abused by her maternal uncle. So Mala is sexually abused by her maternal uncle at the age of 6, and has to suffer continuous sexual molestation which leads her to the arms of any man. So she was continually molested by her maternal uncle, whom she comes in contact with. So now she become depressed with this all men touch, and she fails to marry Deepak because she always realized that her uncle's presence with her. So she was molested by her maternal uncle, and now she cannot take any relationship. In spite of these all attempts, Deepak fails to know the truth behind Mala's erratic behavior, but in fit of realization of Deepak's love, she reveals her past life of him, and with his help, she becomes successful to fight against the exploitation and refusing her maternal and uncle's gift of house. So with with Deepak's love, she recover from depression and frustration situation, and she recovers, and she rejects her maternal uncle's gift of house. She holds her mother responsible for her plight, but in the end of the play, she come to know that her mother also molested by her uncle. So her mother also has been the prey of same fate. Santa does not dare to reveal the truth because she was financially weak, and society does not permit her to such relationships. So what happened? Santa does not dare to reveal the truth because she was financially weak. So Santa was very much afraid to reveal the truth because he was financially weak, and the society will never permit such relationship. Will never going to hear you, uh, hear Mala. So now our next play is also in uh, a feminist text, Silence, the Court is in Session, written by Vijay Tendulkar. So now see little information about the play. Santa, the court's chalu ahe. Silence, the court is in session is a Marathi play written by Vijay Tendulkar in 1963, first performed in 1967, directed by Arvind Deshpande with Sulva Deshpande as the main lead. A group of teachers plan to stage a play in a village. When a cast member does not show up, a local stagehand is asked to replace him. So, when a cast member does not show up, a local stagehand is asked to replace him. A improvised free-flowing rehearsal is arranged and a mock trial is staged to make notice understand court procedure. So they are doing rehearsal for a play. So a group of teachers, a group of teachers, they plan to rehearse a play, and in this play a mock trial is happening. A mock charge of infanticide is leveled against Miss Banare. So Miss Banare is the protagonist and another cast member. All of a sudden, the pretend play turns into an accusatory game when it emerges from the trial that Miss Banare is carrying out of wedlock child. So now the pretend play, the rehearsal become real, and all the members now accusing Miss Benare. Why they are accusing Miss Benare? Because she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with a wedlock child, and from her failed illicit relationship with Professor Damley, the missing cast member. So she was pregnant by Professor Damley, and they had a illicit relationship, and she is now pregnant. But the Professor Damley is missing in the rehearsal, or we can say that in her life Professor Damley is missing, and now Miss Banare has to take all the responsibility for the child, or she has to suffer for the relationship and for the did what she did, but she has to suffer because she is a women. But Professor Damley is missing because she don't have to worry about what he did or about their illicit relationship. So it is a feminist text, and here we see it is a famous play of by Vijay Tendulkar, and here we see that it is a play where Miss Benare is um, accused by all the play members and all the society. Okay, now our next play, Muktodhara by Rabindranath Tagore. Muktodhara is one of the masterpieces of Rabindranath Tagore. The play is the most popular and symbolic of the plays of Tagore. The play has been translated from Gujarati version into English by Major Skies. The play takes its name from mountain stream Muktodhara, which literally means free rivulet. It is a mountain spring. Its waters rushes down the slopes of Uttarakut and irrigates the plains of Sivatarai. The drama is full of suggestions not merely on modern politics but on the many other problems that unveils the modern world. It focuses on the issues like the misuse of science by men, man pursuit of pleasure and worship of machine, race pride and race prejudice. So the play is full of suggestions not merely on modern politics but on many other problems that unveils the modern world. It focuses the issues like misuse of science by men, the mad pursuit of pleasure, and worship of machine. So how in modern times we are worship of machine instead of human being or god. Race prejudice and race pride and race prejudice. So these are the themes of the play. Now see our next question, question number 29. Who amongst the following popularized the term objective correlative, which is often used in formalist criticism? And our answer is T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot popularized the term objective correlative, which is often used in formalist criticism. So now see the explanation. What is objective correlative? Objective correlative is one only way of expressing emotions in the form of art by finding the objective correlative. In another words, a set of objects, situation, a chain of events which shall be the formula of the particular emotion, such as such that when the external facts which must terminate in sensory experience are given, the emotions is immediately evoked. So what happened that what is objective correlative? It is the only way of expressing emotion in the form of art by finding the objective correlative. Means, in other words, that a set of objects, when a set of objects or situation or events or a chain of events, which shall be the formula particular emotion. So a set of events, a set of objects is arranged in such a way that it focus or it express your emotion, and it correlate your emotions. So the objects, the chain of events, it correlative in such a way that it push your emotions, and then it become it terminate your sensory experience, and you become emotional, and the emotion is immediately evoked. So objective correlative acts as a medium for the poet to transmit his emotion to the reader in an objective way. So what it did, it helped the poet to transmit his emotion. So what is going on in the mind or the poet, uh, he can express it to the reader in an objective way. Work of art as an artifact on an organic whole. Successful instance of objective correlative is sleepwalking scene in Macbeth. Like when we see that in sleepwalking scene in Macbeth, though we know that Lady Macbeth is such a strong lady, and she advised or ordered Macbeth to kill Duncan, and we see that she is so much strong in her decision. But when we see that she is suffering, and how Shakespeare show us that she is suffering. See what Shakespeare did. She make a sleepwalking scene where Lady Macbeth, we can, Shakespeare is not telling us that Lady Macbeth is suffering so much, but when we see that Lady Macbeth sleepwalking scene, uh, we realize that how much she suffers when she continuously washed her hand. We realize that how much she afraid, and how much she is now in the pain that she what she did. So we know by the situation, by the scene, by the act, what she is doing. So the sleepwalking scene in Macbeth is a successful instance where the reader can understand that what is happening and what is going on in the mind of Lady Macbeth. But what T.S. Eliot objects that in Hamlet is an artistic failure, lacks of objective correlative. So T.S. Eliot criticized Hamlet that is does not have a objective correlative, because in Hamlet, we see that Hamlet's father was killed by his uncle, and Hamlet know all the story or know all the what happened with his father and know the secret, but he is not doing anything. He is not taking action. He is not kill his uncle. Why he is doing that? So it is a lack of objective correlative as per T.S. Eliot. Now see that it is too much hazy, so let me read it for you. T.S. Eliot defines objective correlative as a set of objects and situation, a chain of events. According to T.S. Eliot, the poet cannot communicate his emotions directly to the readers, so he has to find some way or some object suggestive to it, suggestive of it, and only then he can evoke the same emotions to the reader. So he must find some way, so the reader cannot, the author cannot say to the reader that this is happening, this is going to happen. So he must create some situation, some chain of events, so that reader themselves can understand that what is happening behind the character, what is happening behind the scene. So this is called objective correlative. So this objective correlative is a set of objects, a situation, a chain of events which shall be the formula of particular emotion, such as when external fact which must terminate the in sensory experience are given, the emotion is immediately evoked. So now see the next question, question number 30. Which of the following prefaced Shakespeare's comedies in his tragedies? So our answer is Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson critics preferred Shakespeare's comedies to his tragedies. So Samuel Johnson preferred comedies better than tragedy. So what is his reason behind it? Now let's see. On the occasion of examining Shakespeare's mingling of tragedy and comedy, serious and laughter, Johnson compares Shakespeare's tragedies with his comedies. In Johnson's view, Shakespeare's comedies are superior to his tragedies and conform more to his genius and temperament. Johnson quotes several instances to support his views in this connection. The section of preface in which he deals with the issue is interesting. So let's see. Uh, Johnson Johnson goes Johnson goes to consider the comparative merits of Shakespeare's tragedies and comedies. In the first place, he holds the comedies of Shakespeare as superb and spontaneous, artistically superior to the tragedies. So he preferred comedies to um, tragedy. His tragedies are, according to Johnson, less genius and artificial. In tragedy, he often writes with great appearance of toil and study. What is written at last with little felicity, but in comic scene, he seems to produce without labor. So, what he said that in the tragedy, he have to labor much, but what in comedy he did it in spontaneously, instinctively. So comedies are better than tragedy as per Johnson. Secondly, um, conceives that conceives that comedy was more suitable to Shakespeare's genius than tragedy, because tragedy he is always struggling after some occasion to be comic, but in comedy he seems to repose or luxuriate as in a mood of thinking congenial to his nature. Thirdly, so what he said that for tragedy he is always struggling after some occasion to be comic, but in comedy he seems to repose or to luxuriate and as in a mood of thinking congenial in his nature. Thirdly, Johnson believes that his tragedies lack something we desire or look for. So as per Johnson, he said that his tragedies lack something what the reader looking for, but in his tragic scenes there is always something wanting, but his comedy often suppress expectation of desire. Johnson adds that Shakespeare's tragedies provide pleasure because of the variety of incidents and action, whereas in the case of comedy, we desire pleasure from its thought and language and felicity of expression. To sum up, Johnson is of the opinion that Shakespeare tragedies are product of skill, whereas comedies he of his instinctive genius. So he said that for comedy he write comedy spontaneously, but he had to labor or had to work hard for his tragedy, so it is much more pretentious. But uh, for comedy he is doing it with instinctly, and it is of his instinctive genius. So now see the our last question, and our last question is, who among the following has been credited with laying the foundation of comparative literature by Russian formalists? So, who among the following has been credited with laying the foundation of comparative literature by Russian formalists? And our answer is Alexander Veselovsky. So now see the information about Alexander Veselovsky. Alexander Nikolaevich Veselovsky was a Russian. He was born in Moscow in 1838 and died in 1906. Was a leading Russian theorist who had a groundwork for comparative literary studies. So he had a groundwork for comparative literary studies. So now I end my video here. So if you like my explanation and analysis, so please like and comment and give your feedback. Thank you very much.